Today is the first day of the rest of your life. Open your mind and let go of the fears of midlife and aging. Some people see midlife as a time of stress and overwhelm, but we're not going to do that. We see midlife as an opportunity for continued learning and growth. Life's a journey, not a destination. It's a continual process and can get better all the time. And the best part, you can write your own rules. So in each Midlife Magic episode, we're going to have conversations with interesting and cool people that will give you the inspiration and know-how on how to live your best life. Are you ready? Let's go. Hey guys, hope you're doing well. Welcome back to another episode of Midlife Magic. I'm your host, Lisa Mustard. Today's guest is somebody who's very near and dear to my heart. He is actually my personal life coach. His name is Bill Mayer. We connected about 5-6 years ago when I was struggling. I was struggling with feeling meh in my life and in my businesses and needed somebody to help me make a plan, get on track, and move forward. And what I wasn't expecting was kind of the side benefit of working with Bill. Not only did he help me get things back on track with business and my professional life, but he also helped me really get clear on my values and working in alignment or being in alignment and being congruent with my values and living my most authentic and congruent life. I didn't know that was what I was going to get when I started working with him, but I'm so happy that I took the chance of working with a life coach just a couple years ago. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm a therapist, right? I'm a marriage and family therapist, and I've definitely done my work in therapy, but coaching is very different. People ask me, how do I differentiate between the two? And pretty much how I look at it is therapy is going to help you process past hurts, past stories that you continue to tell yourself that might keep you stuck. Where life coaching is, you've had those things happen in your life, but it sounds like you want to move forward. You want to take action. You want to have a plan in place. You want to be held accountable to moving forward in your life being different. And that's what I needed in my life 5-6 years ago when I met Bill. I didn't necessarily need to process the stuff of, my childhood and my marriage. I needed somebody to really hold me accountable to move forward and to take those steps to be just congruent and in alignment. And I always say when we are in alignment and congruency, work is effortless and fun. So I'm really excited to have him here today. Let me tell you a little bit about him. Bill Mayer has been called the tennis teacher to the stars, including Oprah Winfrey and countless other celebrities. He once ran across America to raise money for Olympic training centers, and he's now a full-time professional speaker, seminar leader, and consultant who lives out his dreams by consistently asking the right questions. His motto is, if at first you don't succeed, then ask yourself a better question. And that's going to make sense as we get into this interview. And in this week's episode of Midlife Magic, Bill is sharing how you can change your life by learning to become a power thinker. What is that? Well, becoming a power thinker means you are taking control of your thoughts and creating the destiny you desire by consistently asking yourself empowering questions. And once again, y'all, he is my life coach and has made a huge impact in my life. I'm thrilled to have him on the show, and I cannot wait to share this interview with you. So hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Midlife Magic. I'm your host, Lisa Mustard, and this week I have a very special guest, someone who is near and dear to my heart and in my life, Mr. Bill Mayer. Welcome to the show, Bill. I'm so excited to have you.
Thank you for those kind words, and it's great to be here.
Yeah, so I'm excited to have you, and I got to give everybody a little bit of a background as to how you and I connected. It's probably been about 5 years that you and I first met, and I was gifted a life coaching session with you. And within an hour of working with you, I knew that my life had changed. And so I wanted more and more Mr. Bill. So you've been my life coach for the past couple of years. I know it's been a while since you and I have chatted, but I go back over and over time to all the things that you first introduced me to many years ago, whether it be reading your book, which I know we'll talk about, or checking on the workbook that you sent me and honestly, here's a secret. I've taken a lot of what you've taught me and shown me, and I have put it into practice in where I work and what I do. And I can see the aha moments happening for people. So I'm going to just kind of I'm going to stop talking, and I want you to tell our listeners a little bit, well, maybe not a little bit, but a lot about who you are and about your journey and how you got to where you are today.
Beautiful. Yeah. And per the Virginia Slims commercial, if you don't mind me saying, you come a long way, baby, because you're doing great things and you're podcasting and you're doing some incredible things in your life. I know family is really, really important to you, and I know you're a great mom as well. So anyway, it's fantastic to be here, and let's make it a fun call. I'm hoping one of the major intentions is everybody leaves today with some value that they can immediately apply into their life and take it to their personal and business life to the next level. And so with that in mind, I'll give you, for those who don't know me, I'll give you a little bit of a background. I'll literally start where I was born, Islip, Long Island, New York, 1954. So I'm 66 years old, or 66 years young, and grew up in a family environment that we were perceived as the perfect family because all the boys were best athlete in the school, number one in the class, sister, high school captain of cheerleading, homecoming queen, etc. We were as dysfunctional as everybody else on the planet. I remember as a skinny 15-year-old high school sophomore wondering and asked myself, what's it all about? Because I had all these honors and awards and captains and number one in the class, and I really didn't feel that great about myself. I had relatively low self-esteem. So I started at 15, journey on with the question, what's it all about? And did things like I'd sneak out of the house to do transcendental meditation at 15, and I even went to Australia at 17 thinking that maybe I would find some magical formula, maybe from an Aboriginal shaman or something, going across the country on a cross-country trip, and just continued my search, went on to college, played professional tennis, and got a degree in health and phys ed and master's in nutrition. And at 26, I was still searching, if you will, and I guess you would say, Forrest Gump before Forrest Gump. And I actually ran across America, 2,992 miles from Miami to Los Angeles to raise money for Olympic training centers. And I was perceived as this martyr because I raised a lot of money for them. But in actuality, I was 26 years old, Miss Lisa, and I really didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. So I just, Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, California. You'd think after 2,092 miles that maybe you'd find the answer, but didn't find it. So just kept on, settled in San Diego, where I got back to what I knew best, which was teaching tennis. I guess I became, you'd call the coach to the stars. And people like Oprah Winfrey would fly me out to her farm in Indiana to teach her tennis. And I would wonder after a while, like the fourth or fifth trip over there, is, why is she paying me $1,000 to teach her 2 hours of tennis or in Stedman? And the reality of it was, first of all, she could afford it. Number two is I found myself after the lessons speaking to her, and she was very open to me about childhood challenges there, abuse, etc., and found myself like coaching Oprah. And I said, wow, I guess it's my gift. I flew back to San Diego after one of those trips, and at 40 years old, I just walked off the tennis court and said, no more. It wasn't fulfilling to me. And I went up to Lake Arrowhead and wrote a book called The Magic and Ask the Right Questions in 21 days. And it was inspired by Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Mm-hmm. Many of you, if you're on a personal growth, probably remember that book, but the essence of it was you become what you think about. Your thoughts control your life. Everything originates with thought. And I really lived that and found great value in it. So I said, I'm going to share this with the world. And by that time, I'd probably read over 1,000 books in personal growth and wanted to share some of my insights. And as I wrote the book, it was originally titled Power Thinking, Control Your Thoughts, Control Your Destiny. And it morphed into The Magic and Asking the Right Questions, because as I wrote the book, I realized, yes, your thoughts do control your life. Everything originates with thought. But I asked, how do you control your thoughts? And I realized I was asking myself a question. And I said, you control your thoughts by the questions you ask yourself. And that was the start of The Magic and Ask the Right Questions. And it was well received. It was a best-selling book. And from that, branched off and did a lot of seminar work, real estate industry, network marketing, different fields, all but coached over 5,000 people in all walks of life, housewives, midlife, chiropractors, gym teachers, pretty much all gamuts of life. And just maybe a 3 hour of the magic and ask the right questions condensed down to just a few minutes it was just realizing that, this power thinking secret was my thoughts control my life. My questions control my thoughts. Therefore, when I master my questions, I will master my life. Mm-hmm. And I took people in my seminars on a journey, and I showed them how you master your questions, and then you master your focus, which helps you to master emotions, which then helps you to master your life. And maybe 60 seconds on each one is that regarding master your questions, the quality of your life is absolutely determined by the quality of the questions you ask yourself on a daily basis. And if that is true, what it is, does it make sense to ask yourself great questions, empowering questions, feel-good questions, high vibrational questions all day long? And the answer is absolutely yes, because that's what guides and directs your focus. For example, what am I thankful for? Appreciative focus, feel-good focus. How can I make it fun? Lighten up focus. Most people take themselves and life way too seriously. It's important to lighten up. And just a simple attitudinal question of what's great about this.
Right.
So those are just three simple questions. But those questions, I promise you, guide and direct your focus. And that takes us to where my focus goes, my energy flows. And what does this mean? It means simply where your focus goes, your energy flows. So you want to make sure that you absolutely focus in on what you desire and want in life, and not what you fear and don't want. And unfortunately, most other people ask themselves these unconscious, disempowering questions all day long. Mm-hmm. They answer them, and they wonder why they're stuck, where they're stuck, what's wrong with, what's lacking, what's missing, those type of questions. Right. So you master your questions, which then helps you to master your focus, which helps you to master your emotions. And everything in life is interpretation. Wayne Dyer said, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And we are absolutely vibrational beings on a vibrational planet. So managing, monitoring, and mastering those emotions is really a key to a happy, joyful life, whether you're youthful, midlife, wherever. And that's why I coach now on a lot. And I know you mentioned, we'll get into it, I'll coach a lot on self-love, self-respect. I coach a lot on emotional mastery. Really taking responsibility for, we'll call it, the vibration that you put out there. And so we'll get into more details. I'm sure you have some really good questions to go there with. But the bottom line is, if you can follow with me and see if this makes sense, you master your questions, which helps you to master your focus, which helps you to master your emotions, which helps you to master your life. And really the one thing that takes it to the next level is that was also discovering that the degree to, regarding life mastery, the degree to which you live in harmony with your highest values is the degree that you'll experience healthy, positive self-esteem. And so we can go on perhaps a little 5 or 10 minute journey later, because I know that's something that you really applied into your life, Lisa, and I think it helped you personally and business-wise. So that's a quick synopsis of Mr. Bill's journey, and it's a never-ending journey, just so you know. You never do get it exactly right, but you're hopefully, like I'm looking at my daily planner day before, is that I have on the top of the sheet of paper, I just have best day of my life so far. Yeah. And that's the intention that I have every day, that I set, an intention, and we'll get into it, but I do that by really including a lot of my values. I do that by really living divinely conscious, aware of where I'm at, and to not only monitor, but master emotions, because that really determines your happiness, joy. And I will say, and you know this, Lisa, I'm a little bit of a cornball coach, in that someone was to say to me, how do you measure success in your life? I wouldn't say, 6 figures, a lot of books sold, CDs. I'd say, I absolutely measure my success by my ability to create and experience moment-to-moment joy. Yeah. And I know that what you're really focusing in on this call, and you're gifted in, even in your practice, whatever is midlife, et cetera, there. And that's a really important element to certainly self-love, self-respect, and emotional mastery. So with that, you have a little bit of a flavor of Mr. Bill, and I'm going to give it back to you and trust that you'll ask exactly the right questions to provide value for your audience.
Yeah, well, thank you for the background. And as you were speaking, so many of our conversations were kind of flooding in. And I was just thinking back to how when I first started with you, I remember I would get these moments of, I would get stressed out or I would get overwhelmed and I would feel stuck. And I remember having that conversation with you early on, and you really helped me kind of get clarity on that. And so after I would have a session or two with you, I found myself asking myself better questions. I found myself focusing on what you said, self-love, self-respect. And I know I want to talk more about these things, but it's amazing to me how putting these things into practice really does change your life. And I remember in the beginning being a little like, but I'm a therapist. Like, what is this life coach going to teach me that I don't already know? And one of the things that really hit me when we first started working together was this idea of, you asked me, how are you vibing? I was like, what is he talking about? You would just, on a scale of 1 to 10, how are you vibing today? And I didn't really know how to answer that question. I was like, I got all these things to do. I got a list of things, this, that, and the other. I didn't really know how to answer that question because I was so kind of stuck in that world of doing for others and getting through my day. And like, I don't have time for fun, joy, and laughter. I got responsibilities. And you really helped me kind of get clear on, no, Lisa, you have those, you have all of that within you. It's just kind of shifting around how you ask yourself questions, how you identify your values, how you start your day, how you end your day, like be here now, be present, gratitude. So I have so many thoughts and feelings that, come up when I talk to you 5 years later. I almost don't know how to how to explain it. It's kind of like it's wild to me that I tell friends in the field this all the time that are therapists. I'm like, sometimes you just need a life coach. Life coaching is different than therapy. Therapy is wonderful and it's necessary, but life coaching is a completely different experience, especially with you. So I gotta give you props, major props for really helping me.
I appreciate that, and I think a little bit of the difference is, and I love this quote by this gal. We'll say anonymous right now. I don't remember her name, but she said, "Life is not about finding oneself.
Mm-hmm.
Life is about creating a new, improved you."
Mm-hmm.
So we've all had enough contrast and pain in our life to get really, 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 really clear on what we don't want.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than focus in on all that and all the garbage and all the trash, how about if we focus in on maybe a simple question like, who is the person I choose to become to make 2021 my best year ever? And if you align with those values, which we'll get into in a little bit, but you might choose to be vibrantly healthy, and spiritually connected, and financially free, and these feelings that you really value, always working inside out. We have a tendency in our goal setting to go outside in with have goals like money, houses, or do goals. But be goals are feelings that you value. And if you set those intentions, then you work inside out. When you become more valuable to yourself, you can then do more for others.
Right.
So you can have more, so you can give more.
Right.
And especially as you're going through the midlife stuff, there is you want to feel really, really, really good about yourself. And that's when we talk about the vibration. Vibration is a feeling, and self-esteem is how you feel about you. So the better and better and better and better that you feel about you, the more that you attract really good things in your life. But most importantly, the more that you enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
And I see so many people just going through the motions of life because they're just working off of their to-do sheet, their to-do list. And you did bring up about planning the night before, and really, I talked about deliberately creating your value-based day. With your permission, I'm going to take 2 minutes so I can share with your audience the importance of just creating a day of doing stuff and creating a day where you're really focusing on your values. Would that be okay with you?
Yes, of course. This episode of the Midlife Magic podcast is sponsored by my favorite fitness apparel, Zaya Active. I discovered Zaya Active when I went looking for high quality and premium workout clothes, just like those luxury store and catalog brands, yet I wanted a budget friendlier price tag. I love this brand because I live a very active lifestyle. I work out about 5 days a week, plus I love to go for runs and long walks, which I consider to be my very important self-care and podcast listening time. The clothes stay put, I'm not constantly pulling on my leggings or tugging on my sports bras, and they accentuate me in all the right places. And when I work from home, they are the perfect clothes for being comfortable and still stylish. And I can transition to running out the door to pick up our girls or run errands while still looking put together in my athleisure styles. My favorite workout leggings are the light and tights, and my favorite everyday wear are the everywhere pants. Yes, I literally wear them everywhere, every day. I can even wear them to business meetings or client consultations, and I can dress them up or down easily. Want to learn more? Head over to lisamustard.com and click on the Activewear page. You can learn all about Zaya Active, the mission, the clothes, and see if they are a fit for you and your active life. From weight training to running to Zumba to yoga to CrossFit to bar to walking to tennis, Zaya Active has you covered. And don't forget about the active men in your life. They have an amazing men's line, plus clothes for active kids too. That's Zaya like papaya active. So see my site for all the details. That's lisamustard.com/active-wear.
So I was at a retreat. This was in Connecticut about 2 years ago. And I was speaking about the importance of, first of all, planning the night before, because not only do you get more done, you get 3 times more of the higher priority items done. It's an opportunity to have your subconscious mind commune with super consciousness, which is universal mind, which is infinite intelligence, which allows, you don't have to be the Lone Ranger. Just say to the universe, listen, the universe says, you get clear on what you want, we'll help you figure it out and make it a little bit more so we can go a little bit more downstream and not so much that struggle and resistance. And that's what they talk about, being in flow. That's when they allow the universe to work with you, for you. So right before we went to break, I was talking about planning the night before and creating a value-based day, deliberately putting in some of your highest values into your day the night before. And I call it put your potatoes in first, and then the rice or whatever fluffy, duffy stuff. And this one gal didn't quite get it, because right before we went to break, Lisa, I said, if you want to manage your time, prioritize your schedule. If you want to master your time, schedule your priorities. And she didn't quite get it because she ran up at break, and she was very prideful because she had just invested $1,000 in a week in a retreat on time management. And she came running up, and she had her yesterday's schedule, and on it, she had 21 items, and they were all checked off. 1, 2, 3. It was amazing. I said, Susan, her name was Susan. I said, that's really, really impressive. He said, for the fun of it, how many of those items, activities, have to do with your highest values? And she went over, she said, 1, 2, maybe 3. Well, I took out my schedule the day before, and of my 17 waking hours, 15 of those hours were devoted to value-based activities. So, Miss Lisa, who do you think had a better day?
You, for sure.
Okay, good. So who do you think was vibing at a higher plane?
You, definitely.
Who do you think was feeling better about themselves?
You.
Who do you think was attracting more good things into their life?
You.
Who do you think was enjoying the ride more?
You.
Okay. So if you want to manage your time, prioritize your schedule. If you want to master your time, schedule your priorities. So I did want to share that because you were talking about planning the night before and why.
Yes.
So it's just being a little bit more deliberate in that context.
Yeah. Can I interrupt you? I have a question because I go back to that time when we were working on this, and I remember saying, yeah, Bill, I hear you. I understand what you're saying, but I have all these responsibilities at my work and at my job, and I'm not quite sure they're going to be on board with me, not doing what they need me to do, or me not presenting with my best effort or my best practice. And I'm trying to recall what you said to me back then. Do you remember that conversation?
Yeah, well, I mean,
okay.
the essence of this is people say day is already busy. I don't have time for that. Well, in my opinion, you don't have time not for that. Now, there's going to be times that are designated during the day where you're at work and you can't, at your work and you have to work there 8 hours, you can't say, oh, well, I'm going to take an hour of this and I'm going to work out at the gym during this and, whatever. But the universe responds very powerful to intention. Remember what I said, when you plan the night before, the universe will begin to conspire with you. Mm-hmm. Your subconscious mind communes with what's called superconsciousness, which is universal mind, infinite intelligence. And infinite intelligence implies that the universe has like more than one way to get things done. We have like one or two ways, et cetera, there. So when you're at work, you be at work. But the design of it is that that's 8 hours of the day. You got 16 other hours to work with. So in the rest of that time, in the windows of the time, if you just go about your day and you let the wind take you whatever direction it's going to go, you're going to go with whatever direction the wind. If you proactively, deliberately get clear on what you want, and let's say vibrant health is important to you, well, maybe you can't work out for an hour and a half at the gym, but you could go for a 20-minute walk, and that would have to do with vibrant health. That's fine. Mm-hmm. You might even do it during the lunchtime. But you begin to get clear on that person. The whole design of raising the vibration is you raise the vibration so when you work or go to work, you're operating in an 8.5 or 9 vibration. I can show everyone on the call, and you and I went over this, that by planning the night before and in the morning, if you're willing to spend 15 minutes to raise your vibration, you can go to work at an 8.5 or 9 vibration. And trust me, at that higher vibration, you will, first of all, you feel better and better about yourself. You'll be less attached to what other people think, say, or do, which is a good thing. But most importantly, you'll be filtering through your world from a 9 vibration, 8.5 or 9, versus a 5, which is more or less a survival one, and you probably have a so-so day. So, at work, it's not like at work you're going to include all of your 9 highest values. No, when you're at work, with the end result of the values is that you'll be more productive at work. You'll be more energetic and alive at work. You'll be a beacon of light that others are attracted to. I'm not sure what Lisa's got, but I want some of that, right?
Yeah. And that changed everything for me too. I remember I had, feeling kind of defeated some days at work, but when I started to implement what you shared and what we practiced, it all just kind of started to come together. And, I, like you said, the universe conspires. I truly believe that. I've had so many experiences over the past couple of years where that has shown to be the case. It blows me away. And I'm so grateful. Like, I can't get over how that happens every single time. I almost feel like I'm looking around like, well, how did these things happen? So I think this is such a great, thank you for kind of giving some feedback on that question. Cause a lot of people will ask that,
In answer to that, how does this all happen? Gravity is gravity. Okay. And if I drop this pin and I drop it from 3 inches away from the table, you can probably hear if I drop it a foot off, there's still gravity. Universal law is universal law. And the way things that are manifested in your life are simply this. Any great thing you or any of your listeners have ever achieved, you've emotionalized in advance. Mm-hmm. The event is having already occurred with absolute faith that it is done, and it shows up. That's why you see a trending in psychology and books and all that going from Think and Grow Rich, you become what you think about, to like The Secret. And Neville Goddard wrote a book, Feeling is a Secret, because it's not actually you become what you think about, but you become what you feel. What the universe is listening to is your feeling, the feeling behind the thought. Right. So, for example, let's take something like money. And energetically around money, most people, it's a sensitive issue. Unfortunately, most people have a lack mentality. So I'll ask the question to everybody on the call. If you knew that every second that you spent worrying about money meant that you were attracting and creating more lack in your life, how much time would you spend worrying about money? Yeah. And hopefully none or very little. You kind of want it like, and this will lead in nicely, and then we can go back and forth between it, but that point we had about emotional mastery. I'll give your listeners a very unique and simple secret. We now know that the secret to self-esteem and self-love, we really haven't gone over this, we go over it a little bit more, but is by being clear on live in harmony with your highest values. At least through 200 books that I read on self-esteem, every one of them had something about essentially what Oscar Wilde said, to love oneself is the beginning of a lifelong romance. And then when I asked the question, because I am the question guy, how can you love yourself even more? The answer in all the books was, you can love yourself even more by being clear on live in harmony with your highest values. So I encourage everyone on the call to simply, if you answer that question, what do I value most in life, what's most important to me, you'll be a member of the 10% club. Because 90% of people don't even know their values. How in God's name can you live in harmony with your highest values if you don't even know what they are? If that's the key to self-esteem, then you're trying to open up the combination of self-love and self-respect, and it's going to be very frustrating.
Right.
So, what are examples? Just very quickly, I'll just give you my 9 highest values. They are vibrant health, spiritual connection, financial freedom. They are family focus, making a difference in contribution, fun, joy, and laughter. And they are love, kindness, and appreciation, personal growth, neat, orderly, and organized. Those don't have to be yours. But whatever it is that you value and most important to you, if you are congruent and integrous with those values, I promise you'll feel good about yourself. It's the key to self-love, self-respect. It's the key to vibrating at a higher plane. And the bottom line is that the universe responds to that vibration. Each and every one of you, you're like this radio tower. With every thought, and specifically with every feeling you now have, you are creating your destiny. Yeah. So you want to be aware of that vibration, and you don't want to leave it up to circumstance of your life, which most people do. Most people live their life in an unconscious stupor, reacting to life in their uncomfortable comfort zone, asking themselves unconscious, disempowering questions all day long, and they wonder why they're stuck where they're stuck. So you can live a life by design, or you can live a life by default. If you want to live life by design, take 15 minutes the night before, create a value-based day, wake up in the morning, raise your vibration. Essentially what you do is some morning exercises. If any of your listeners want to, they can give me a jingle or whatever, and I'll help them out with that. 15 minutes, you'll be at an 8.5 or 9 before you even leave for work. So that's a little bit back on the values, but back to the emotional mastery thing is this. That's the key to self-love, self-respect. This one, it might be a little challenging for some listeners to take in, but you don't have to embrace it totally, but just see if it makes a little bit of sense, because it's totally against the grain. And that is, what I would challenge each and every one of you on the call is to look at the negative emotion differently than you now do. Because most people, when they experience a negative emotion, there's about 32 of them: fear, doubt, worry, lack, anxiety, stress. They're all ego-driven, by the way, edging God out, and they're all based on your subconscious past experience, 50,000 thoughts a day, etc. there. So the bottom line is that we are hardwired, unfortunately, not to be Mr. Positive, whatever. We get 50,000 no's by the time we're 3 years old. Read the paper 17 pages before you get to a good article. Listen to sometimes friends, and they're trying to outdo themselves with what's wrong with their life. So we're not naturally that way. We have to reprogram ourselves. And one of the key things is to be able to listen to that internal dialogue that goes on 24/7, because it's those thoughts that determine the feeling. And the thoughts, unfortunately, the mind is very associative, so it always goes back to, all day long, what does that remind me of? What does that remind me of? And it could be a past experience that wasn't favorable. And you don't even know it, and you think about that, and you're kind of going down the dark hole. So we want to have, and actually I'll make it really simple, and I kind of partake as if actually, first of all, let me backpedal. Zig Ziglar refers to stinking thinking as negative thought invites negative friend to the party. Negative feeling. Negative thought, negative friend, negative feeling, negative thought, negative friend, negative feeling. I think we can all relate to that. Let's say regarding the money that you had, you were worried about money, and then you thought about this bill that you had, and then you thought about this, whatever, and they could kind of go down the track. But unfortunately, what happens after 3 of those dominoes fall, we all of us, ask ourselves this unconscious, disempowering question, and that is, what does that remind me of? Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, with 50 to 60,000, 70,000 thoughts a day, 84% of them in the subconscious mind not always being positive, there's a ton of what are called earlier similar events that begin to trigger. And you don't have 3 dominoes, and you have 5 or 10 or 20 or 30, and that's how you go down the dark hole. Yep. So we want to have some form of consciousness to be aware when that's occurring. So this will help, and whatever the audience picks up on this is great. And they don't have to perfect it, but hopefully it helps a little bit. And I'm going to just ask you simple questions. I haven't done this before with you, so it's not to trick you or whatever. Just true or false, Lisa Mustard.
Okay.
Where my focus goes, my energy flows.
True.
Who's guiding and directing that focus?
Me.
Good. Okay, you take responsibility for that. If that's true, do you want to focus in on what you desire and want in life, or do you want to focus in on what you fear and don't want?
Totally what I want and desire.
Okay, good. All right. If that's true, would it be good to have some form of conscious monitoring system to make you aware of whether you're focusing on what you want versus what you don't want?
Yes.
Okay, that's called what I call the emotional guidance system or emotional guidance system. It's your God speaking to you through emotion. Now, let's look at most people. What do most people do? And it's simply feel good and feel bad, just so you know it's nothing fancy. What do most people do when they're experiencing gut-wrenching feeling? Let's say getting back to that money, worried about money. They have this gut-wrenching feeling. It's painful. So what do they naturally do? They resist it. Unfortunately, what you resist persists and expands and only gets worse. So the more you worry, the more you attract what you don't want, the more you'll find out that your car breaks down. And then the more you worry about that, more chance you get it. Then you get a bill from the IRS because the universe is listening to that vibration of lack. So what if you went against the grain? What if that's what 99% of people do? What if you wanted to become a 1% of highly evolved, highly enlightened beings who interpreted the negative emotion differently? Wayne Dyer, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. What if you looked at that negative emotion as your new best friend, and you actually had this gut-wrenching feeling, and you did a happy dance because you recognized that it was a gift from God or higher self telling you that you were beginning to focus in on what you didn't want.
Yep.
And in that moment, what if you did something even more bizarre? And in that pain and that gut-wrenching thing, what if you went to gratitude there? And what if it sounded something like this? Thank you, God, for making me aware that I'm focusing in on and creating what I do not want in my life right now. If you're willing to try that for 30 days, even if it's 10 times a day, you take that out there, amazing things will happen in your life. Because as soon as you go to gratitude in that moment that you're feeling that gut-wrenching feeling in your stomach, gratitude and the negative emotion cannot exist at the same time. So, boom, you stop the negative emotion. Is that a good thing?
Yes, for sure.
Okay. Is gratitude a feel-good focus or a feel-bad focus?
Feel good.
Oh, you went from feeling bad to feeling good, double dipping. And then how about if this was getting you more in alignment with higher self? It was actually strengthening your spiritual connection value because you were recognizing this as a gift from God. And it strengthened spiritual connection value. Would that be a good thing?
Yes.
So with that one action, that little gratitude card, okay, you were triple dipping. You stopped the negative emotion. You went from feeling bad to feeling good, and you raised your vibration by alignment. And just as a sidebar, no extra charge, but you'll find everybody, all you listeners, as you're talking about midlife, once you get older and older and older, you'll realize that it's all about alignment.
Yeah.
And I'm not real religious because I don't go to church, but I am very spiritual. And I'm aware of higher self there. And I promise you, when they say it's all about alignment, it's about alignment. And when you're in alignment, you're going to feel good.
Yeah.
When you're out of alignment, you feel bad. So it really, you have your choice, you guys. You can analyze every one of your 50 to 60 70,000 thoughts each day, or you can just listen to that internal guidance system of feel good, feel bad. It's kind of like if you were driving down the car, and everyone on the call or listening, if you're driving down the freeway and your car was running out of oil, would you want that red warning light to go on in your car, or at least I'll ask you this, or would you want that car engine to explode? What do you prefer?
Yeah, the light.
Okay, good. So it's a $5 can of oil instead of $5,000 for the engine. That's all that gut-wrenching feeling stomach is. Right. It's actually a gift. It's a gift from God. It's a gift of awareness.
Yeah.
You're not giving gratitude for the pain in your stomach. You're giving gratitude because you're aware. And in that awareness, at domino number 1, 2, or 3, you can make a choice. Do you choose to go down the dark hole or not?
Right.
And once you get really, really, really good at this, people, once you practice this, is people will come up to you and say, hey, don't you have any bad days? And you'll say, no, I just have bad moments, because you'll be living what I call divinely conscious, aware of feel good, feel bad. And if you simply integrate this skill set in your back pocket of personal growth, if you will, you'll become a member of the top 1% spiritually connected people on the planet. There's a lot of people, they say they're spiritually connected, they go to church on Sunday, they do a little meditation, and I tallied up, and it's like 4 hours that they're spiritually connected. What are you doing the other 162 hours or 66? So with this awareness of feel good, feel bad, it just simply tells you, are you in alignment with higher self or out of alignment?
Right.
So hopefully it wasn't overwhelming for people, but hopefully you got like a little gist of how you don't necessarily have to get down the dark hole and can let that domino 1, 2, or 3 be an opportunity to consciously decide whether you're going to go there or not.
Yeah. And I want to just emphasize that the more you practice this, the easier it becomes. Because I remember in the beginning, I struggled with this. Like, it was really hard for me to kind of pull myself out of those negative thoughts and the negative feelings and the negative thoughts, because I could just do the whole domino thing. But I remember just trying it out. I'm like, well, it can't hurt to try Bill's way of doing things, be grateful for having this feeling and being aware. And it really does flip the switch for me. It really does. And so, but I also work with a lot of people who just have a really hard time, such a hard time doing that for a number of reasons. But so I know it's not an easy thing, to just jump right into. Some people, it's going to be easier for them than others because they're ready for this. They're searching for it. They're in a place of receiving this information. And maybe some people today are listening going, I don't know about all this. It sounds a little bit woo-woo or weird, but that's okay. Like, I'm just grateful that we can be here today. Are you tired of trying every fad diet out there? Are you sick of spending hours at the gym with little to no results? Because that was me, y'all. I want you to consider trying the Faster Way to Fat Loss, the online program that will empower you to transform your life through effective cutting-edge fitness and nutrition strategies with no supplements, none at all, or gym memberships required. So how is the Faster Way different? Well, the Faster Way to Fat Loss isn't a weight loss program, although most of the clients do lose weight. And you guys, I am a client and I am loving this program. Instead, it's a guided program run by one of the certified coaches. My coach, her name is Teresa, and she is awesome. The online program is designed to teach you how to live a healthy lifestyle so you can burn fat, improve your health, and feel incredible every single day. You'll have the energy to play with your kids, go on those someday adventures. You guys, we just had one a few weeks ago, and keep up with your busy day-to-day life. You'll do all of this with the whole food nutrition cycle, which they cover and explain all of. Easy to follow meal plans. And you guys, they are super, super easy and simple. I don't love to cook, but these meal plans make it really easy. And workouts for every level of fitness. There is a gym workout, a home workout, and low impact workout. So if you're brand new or intermediate or advanced, there's something for everybody. They use science-backed cutting-edge strategies that really, really work. So if you guys want to learn more about the Faster Way to Fat Loss, head to my website, which is www.fasterwaycoach.com/Lisa Mustard. I'll put that in the show notes so you guys can just make it super easy and click on it. I hope you come and join us.
Well, the bottom line is that anything that I share with anybody, I don't want them to take it as truth. I just want them to apply that and see if it works for them in their life. And if it does, great. If it doesn't, throw it out. And you pick up a little bit from me, a little bit from Lisa, a little bit from whoever it is there. All I know is I've coached over 5,000 people. And the key to that is to be aware, okay? And awareness means conscious. That's why you hear the Buddha say, be here now, and Eckhart Tolle, the power of now and the gift of the present, because there is only now. If you think about the past, you're thinking about now, the future now. What time is it? It's now o'clock there. But living divinely conscious is several levels above, is living in the now with the awareness that there's a higher self communicating to you through emotion, and you're just listening. So the key secret there is that you live divinely conscious, not divinely paranoid. You're not looking for the bad stuff to happen or whatever, and I got to catch it or whatever. You just become aware, feel good, feel bad. And it does take practice, but the whole thing is you'll get to the point where you'll realize, oh, I caught it domino number 3. I caught it down number 2. I caught it down number 1. Know if it goes to 8, 10, or 12, which is some people say, wow, I have a really hard time with this, whatever. It's simply because they've been hardwired to allow the dominoes to fall to 8, 10, or 12, or 15 before they even think about being aware that you're focusing on what you don't want. So it does take practice, but I would encourage everyone on the call, if you choose to, if there's someone who says, this is really hard, just begin to label it, a little bit easier each time, I'm 10% better today than I was yesterday. Because if you integrated this 50% in your life and it helped you out 50% of the time, it'd be a win. So again, don't take anything as true that Mr. Bill says. You use it. If it works for you, great. If it doesn't, just throw it out.
Yeah, I love it. That's a lot of what I say in sessions nowadays. It's like, take what you want and leave what you don't, and you have to go out and test it for yourself to see what is true for you. This has just been so awesome. Okay, so I want to know if people want to reach you or connect with you. What's the best way for people to do that?
When I do calls, radio calls, and podcast calls, and training calls, or whatever, one of the things that I do at the end of the call is I just offer a special. If what I share with you resonates at all, is that I have my book, The Magic, and Ask the Right Questions. And I do personal coaching. I coach over 5,000 people, all walks of life, most people in transition, many of them in midlife. And so what I offer is a half-price special. So the book, The Magic, and Ask the Right Questions, is $20, and 1 hour with Mr. Bill is $200. So it's $220 that I offer for the listeners for $97. It's actually less than half. I just happen to like the number 7. So it just gives people a flavor at a very reasonable price, an opportunity to explore. Essentially what we do on the call is this, is you would connect with Mr. Bill. And by the way, you can I'll give you my personal number because I like to speak to people on the phone. It's 760-643-9377, 760-643-9377. Just call and say, Bill, I heard on Lisa's podcast and would love to take advantage of that half-price special, etc. Please give me a call back. What we would do is we just set up a time to get together, and you would email over to me the answer to this question. What are your 3 major challenges in life right now? And the less analysis, the better. If you put your hand in your heart, got off the podcast right now, and within 90 seconds, it was like boom, boom, boom. I had an example. I had a first-time caller a week ago. I think their challenge were finances, self-esteem, and relationship. Doesn't matter. Just write down those 3 buzzwords, and then maybe give me a couple sentences or a paragraph explaining. When you do call in, I'll give you my email, etc. But that's the essence of it. And the goal at the end is to get a lot more clear on what it is that you want and have a sense of direction of where you want to go with your life. And most importantly, to teach you the importance of self-love, self-respect, emotional mastery, and living divinely conscious. When you do those 3 things, I promise you'll be a happy camper. That's the key to life. That cliche of enjoy the journey as much as the destination. I don't know if it's true. I think you should enjoy the journey more than the destination, because with our goal-setting programs, we often get to a goal. We celebrate for a half day, and we've been working on it for a year, and then we're on to the next one. So, So anyway, I think you've got that. It's like a half-price special. You get the book, Hour of Coaching with Mr. Bill, and the number again is 760-643-9377, and mention that you're on Lisa's podcast.
Yeah, and I'll put that in the show notes too, so people can, find your number in the show notes if they didn't write it down or they want to think about it. You can always come back and check the website and connect with Mr. Bill that way. So thank you. This has just been, it's like a trip down memory lane, and just everything that you've taught me, and, just know that I'm putting it into good use, and I share it with people when they need more life coaching than they do therapy. And it's just been life-changing. So thank you so much I'm so honored to have you on my show. Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you for inviting me. It's like a good homecoming. So I appreciate it.
Oh yeah, you're welcome. Well, that's this week's episode of the Midlife Magic podcast.
Don't forget to join us next time for another episode. Thank you for listening.